Hello and welcome to my video, lesson 6.5 on the general form of a line. So here is the general form, just written out in the most generic way that we can. Now general form usually just means equals 0. So we can have general form for a quadratic, we can have general form for a line, we can have general form for a lot of different things. And it's always just going to be equals 0, so that's how I remember this. General form for a line, well, if it's a line, then it has to have y degree 1 and x degree 1, just like in y equals mx plus b, which is kind of my standard line way of thinking about a line. Like we've been looking at, there's multiple different ways to look at a line, but I normally look at it in this way. But anyway, so degree 1 for both of those, so that's important, okay? And then the next part that's important is that a is a positive number, okay, and none of a, b, or c are fractions. Okay, so a is positive, b and c also have to be integers. Okay, looking down here, just generally speaking, we've got general form. There's nothing special to it with regards to graphing. But the best way to graph a general form is to simply solve for the intercept. So when x equals 0, that's the y-intercept. So you can look on this graph here. When x equals 0, it's a y-intercept. Okay, and when then when y equals 0, it's the x-intercept. All right, so we can solve these equations and then graph them. And unfortunately, I forgot to make these into math ones. All right, they're just a little bit prettier now. They look more like math now. Yeah, just moved it around for a little bit of space. Now let's take a look at solving for the x and y intercept. So for the x-intercept, for the blue one here, what you're going to do is you're going to make y equal to 0. So 3x, plus 4, and then y is 0. So y equals 0, plus 5 equals 0. So now you solve for x, so you go 3x plus 5 equals 0. Then you go 3x equals 5, negative 5. So you subtract by 5 to move it over. And then you divide by 3 on both sides. So you get negative 5 over 3. And that is our answer for the x-intercept. Okay, now we're going to look at our y-intercept. Hopefully my numbers are not too bad. I'm just thinking about it, and they're probably not that. These are not going to graph very nicely, but that's okay. I could have come up with slightly more pleasing numbers, just whole number answers, but I did not. Okay, so 3, and then x is 0, plus 4y plus 5 equals 0. Then we get rid of that 0 part, that term there. Then we get the 5 over, so it's negative 5. So then we get y equals negative 5 over 4. Okay, so those are going to be our two different numbers for the x and y intercepts, and I'm going to roughly plug them in. So the x-intercept is where x is negative 5/3, which is going to be right here. And then our y-intercept is y is negative 5 over 4, so 1/4 past. So right there. And then I have to draw the line. That's pretty close. Okay, so that's what our line looks like for the blue one. Now let's try the red intercepts. Okay, so trying it again, 2x, and then the middle term disappears, minus 21 equals 0. So now it's going to be 2x equals positive 21. Now we're going to divide by 2 on both sides. So we're going to be left with Oh yeah, that doesn't work. Should have done 14. Oh well, it's going to be 10.5. At least it's going to be close to the right answer. So now we can try the y-intercept. So it's going to be where the first part disappears, the x term disappears because x is 0. So then we're going to solve for y. There's a couple ways to do this, but I'm going to do it what I think is the easiest way, which is to move the 7y over. So now it's positive 7y. Then we divide by 7 on both sides, so we get negative 3. Okay, now that we have those 2 points, now we can plot them on our graph. So negative 3 for y and positive 10.5. Whoops. For our x, so it's going to be right here. Alrighty. Okay, let's keep going and try the next one. The next one I think is going to be a little bit prettier numbers. So instead of having a 0.5, I think it's going to be whole numbers here. So 2x, and then the middle term disappears because the y is 0. So minus 20 equals 0. Then we can move the 20 over, so 2x equals positive 20. Then we can solve it for 10. Okay, now solving for the y-intercept. We can get 5y minus 20 equals 0. Then we go 5y equals 20, positive 20. Then we go y equals 4. So we've divided by 5 at the end there. So now let's replot these points on the graph. So we get 4 here and a 10 here. Okay, and then our last point is going to be the purple one. If you haven't tried any of these yet, I suggest you pause the video now, try it yourself, and see if you get the same answer. Okay, so we're going to solve for the x-intercept. So it's going to be 3x plus 15 equals 0. So then we're going to move the 15 over. So it's going to be 3x equals negative 15. So it's going to be x equals negative 5. In our y-intercept, we're going to have negative 3y plus 15 equals 0. Now we can move the 3y over, so it's going to be plus 15 equals positive 3y. Then we're going to get 5 equals y. So if we plug those into, or put those points down on the graph, it's going to look like this, which means when we graph it, it'll look like this. Okay, notice, again, we only use 2 points, the x and y intercept, and we're able to graph every single one of these just using a straight line and the 2 points. Okay, here's a word problem that you could be given based off of this general form. It's not exactly general form, but it does give the right idea. It's in the same ballpark. Jimmy wants to work during the summer to buy a new gaming PC that costs $750. He can cut lawns for $20 each and power rake lawns for $45 each. Write an equation that describes how many lawns he will need to cut in C or power rake R to earn enough money. Okay, so we're going to write an equation. I highly recommend you pause the video now, try it for yourself, and then see if you get the same answer. Okay, so the equation would be 20C, so every time he cuts a lawn, he would get $20, plus 45R, so every time he power rakes, he would get $45. And we want that to equal $750. So what is the C-intercept and what does it mean? Well, if it's the C-intercept, it's where R equals 0. So 20C equals 750. So then we divide 750 by 20. So we get C equals 37.5. And what does it mean? Well, it means it's when he doesn't power rake anything and only cuts lawns. If he only cuts lawns. Okay, doing the same thing for the R-intercept, we'd get 45, R equals 750. And then R equals 750 divided by 45. I'm just going to plug that in my calculator. And we get 16.6 repeating. Okay, so basically it must have been a fraction. It must not simplify much further. So, yeah, that's as far as it simplifies. So, yeah, we'll just leave it there. So what does it represent? It's if he only power rakes during the summer. Okay, now it's going to be a different wording of the question. If Jimmy power rakes 10 lawns, how many would he need to cut in order to purchase the computer? Okay, so now you plug that back in for power raking, in for the R. So instead of R, we're writing 10. So then you multiply those, you get 450 equals, and then 750. Okay, now we solve for C. So we're going to subtract 450 on both sides. Then you're going to divide 20 on both sides. So I believe it is 15. There you go. So I hope that explains a little bit about the general form. I hope this video helped you guys better understand that. But most importantly, how to graph the general form of a line and find the x and y intercepts. Hope this video helped, and good luck.